what we'll do is okay, fine. So good evening, everyone. And if you haven't introduced yourself, just say hi to everyone on the chat box below, and just make sure you tell us like where you from. And yeah, so let's kick off. So before we begin, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owner of the land on which we are gathered today. But the originating Waivurum people from Kulin Nation. I pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. So, before we dive into the main session, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Preet, and I'm a UX design consultant based in Melbourne, Australia. I have been designing solutions for over past 5+ years now and working across 6 different industries in APAC region. And what keeps me excited is solving a real human problems through thoughtful digital experiences. And I also host Friends of Figma events here in Melbourne as a community leader. I'm super passionate about creating space where designers and beyond can connect, learn, and grow together. So I'm thrilled to hosting every one of you this part of the world tour with you today. So maybe you have a question, like why world tour? So our goal is to celebrate the richness and diversity of our global community while making these sessions accessible to anyone, anywhere, and it's powerful reminder that what we can achieve together. So it's the 24-hour non-stop virtual celebration of Friends of Figma community around the world. And because this event is built on a true global collaboration, every participant's FOF chapter will host their own 1 hour session featuring local speakers, local insights, and community-led content. All right. I'm super excited to introduce our speaker of the day, someone I truly admire for the way she lead with purpose and authenticity. So please welcome Ling. So Ash is a brilliant design leader who's all about driving impact, empowering others, and creating space for collaboration, no matter the job title. Today, she will sharing her thoughts on something I think many of us can relate to, which is leading without a title. This is going to be really thoughtful and inspiring session on how we as a designer can step up, take initiative, and create change, even if we don't have a lead in our title. So one last thing before I give says to Ash. So feel free to ask questions during this session in the Q&A box. So you can also give the vote to the questions that has been added by others, just in case if you want to ask something similar. And we will go through them at the end of the session. And if you ask a great question, there is a small surprise for you at the end. So now, without a further ado, over to you, Ash.
Thank you, Preet. What an introduction. I don't know if I can, top that with my content now. You've talked me right up. But I am absolutely honoured to be asked to speak here today and can't wait to share with you some of my insights from my career. So I'm going to kick off and tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Ash Ling, and I work for Intopia. It's the largest digital accessibility consultancy in the Southern Hemisphere. And we work to ensure that the digital world is inclusive for everyone. We do that by offering services such as auditing, training, research, user testing with people with disability. And I love it. It's my passion and it's a dream job. And I'm not going to kick off with my title because then you might notice on the previous slide that I actually asked Preet to cross it out because honestly, who cares? Titles are for context. And right now you don't need that. So what matters today is the stuff that I've done, the people I've worked with, and what I've learned along the way. So that's what I'm going to share with you. So a little bit about me. I grew up in Port Macquarie on the land of the Biripi people. That is the picture on the left. It's a beautiful coastal town on the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Today I'm based in Melbourne or Naarm, and that's the beautiful city you see on the right. Between those two places, there's a lot that happened in the middle. That's that squiggly knot. Bit of this, bit of that. That's probably not all on LinkedIn. And there were a few different countries, different jobs, many different titles, more than a few what the fuck am I doing moments, but that's for a different talk. From CAD drafting for engineering companies in Sydney to answering parking fine complaints in London to making jewellery for Bon Jovi backstage in Toronto. I don't know if anyone here is old enough to remember the glory of JBJ, but let's just say my career has had a lot of zigs and zags. But through it all, I'll say that one thing has been constant. To lead, I have never asked for permission, or in the immortal words and the iconic icon that you see on the screen of Nike, I just did it. So I've been in Melbourne now for about 8 or 9 years, and that's probably where most of my career, in inverted commas, has unfolded. But I would say the story of my life and work hasn't always been about leading because has been about leading because I couldn't not lead. And you'll see on the screen now that it's giving big sis energy. So for better or for worse, it was instinctive for me, and it was a burn for better. It's just how I seem to be wired. And I'll let you know one thing: you don't have to feel like a natural leader to lead. It can be loud, it can be quiet, it can be really bold, it can be behind the scenes. Sometimes it's just a fire in the belly that niggles at you and a quiet voice that says, why isn't this better? And that's enough to kick off. That's where it starts. So I'm someone who spent most of my career leading without necessarily having a title to match. And I think after being asked to speak to this topic tonight, I reflected a lot on my even my childhood. And I thought a lot about how I grew up. So if I'm honest, I think I probably started leading long before I even had a job or knew what leadership was. I was the eldest of 3 kids, and my parents were both incredibly hardworking. Dad was in backbreaking construction, and my mum was in the fast pace of hospitality and now works as a nurse. And they worked long, demanding hours, passing each other like ships in the night. And their work ethic and their resourcefulness really left a strong impression on me from a young age. And I found myself stepping up quite a lot to carry a bit of that load. There definitely wasn't any formal authority, no gold star stickers, and definitely no salary, just a sense that someone had to take charge at times. So I did. And I really believe that taught me something from a young age, that leadership isn't about being a boss, even though my sister would definitely call me bossy. It's about seeing what needs to be done and just doing it and getting it done, even if no one's watching. So whether it was about peeling potatoes, finding my brother's shoes, loading the dishwasher, refereeing a full-blown Sega Mega Drive war, I stepped in. Sometimes quietly and sometimes not so quietly, but always instinctively. And I didn't have a title and I didn't know I needed one. So I think that instinct has followed me into my design career. And so today I want to share why I think the most powerful, most meaningful leadership comes from the people without the title. Because when we talk about leading without a title, we're really talking about something really human, which is influence, initiative, connection, and care. So titles matter, they do, but you don't start with them, you earn them through action. Well, why do titles matter, you say, Ash? Well, yes, they help to set expectations, no doubt about it. They signal scope, responsibility, where you fit into the org chart. They give others a quick sense of what you might do in your role. They offer structure, they offer hierarchy and clarity. Especially in some of those large orgs, titles create alignment, they coordinate teams, they streamline comms, and they clarify decision-making. But what they don't automatically offer is influence. That is earned. It's earned through trust, relationships, credibility, and action. A title might get you in the room, but it doesn't mean that people will listen. They don't guarantee impact. So impact comes from your follow-through, your initiative, how well you solve problems. You can have a big title and still play really small. And they don't define leadership. So leadership isn't just a label, it's a way of showing up. It's about putting yourself forward with courage, vision, and care, with or without a title beside your name. So controversially, you might have heard or you might not have heard that recently Shopify made a change and it ignited an industry-wide design debate. So they have a newly appointed Chief Design Officer, Carl Rivera, at Shopify. He was the former head of product and he made a bold move across the design team. And in his own words, he has said, "We just dropped UX as a title at Shopify. Same for content design. If you design, you're a designer. If you write, you're a writer. Simpler, better." It's a really big shift and it's caused quite a bit of friction. I'm sure you're all flying off the handle at the moment thinking, oh my gosh, how can everyone be a designer? We need our specializations. And there has been genuine concern and definitely outrage about the idea of the UX title dying. And some people think that it could do the following things. So what the potential impact of generalized titles, let's look at these three things. There's number one, it could undermine the visibility of user and human-centered design. So if we remove user from our title, we risk removing the user from the conversation. And that focus may become inward on delivery, on the business, on features, and we really forget the voice of the user, which could get lost. So potentially not great for user experience. Number two, if we generalize titles, we could dilute that design craft and blur the critical skills between them. So the terms UX and UI, they signal expertise, right? If you strip those away, suddenly everything's design. We could lose clarity on whose job is what, who wireframes, who tests, who writes, who does the refinement. The craft could suffer, the quality and standards could slip, and that depth that comes from practice could be replaced with really vague generalism. The third point there is about clarity. So potentially could weaken clarity and accountability within teams, and the lines between who does what becomes fuzzy really fast. So there's no ownership and that gets muddled. So therefore decisions could be stalled and no one really owns anything. On the other hand though, you could see it as a positive recalibration. And this guy, Craig Jamieson, he's a design leader at I don't know where, but he has a really loud opinion and he published it. And he weighed in a positive way about the comments, about the move that Shopify made. And he has said this shift isn't an attack, it's a reset. The industry is raising its standards and dropping the padding. Titles don't protect you anymore, the work does. So make something worth sharing and put your name on it, not your title. And I think this is a really interesting take because it prompts us to reflect and reconsider, is our value in the title we hold or is it in the work that we're proud to stand behind? And look, I couldn't help but throw this one in because in my research around what was happening with Shopify, I saw this Luciane Florian. I've probably made a mess of pronunciation, but Luciane has said, I also vote we drop Chief Design Officer and simply call it designer. And somehow I don't think Carl Rivera at Shopify would be inclined, but it's just an interesting way in on, you say titles don't matter. Well, sometimes they might, I do wonder how Carl might feel about that. In all seriousness though, on reflection, I think Shopify's move does send a really powerful message. Your value isn't in your title. It's in your thinking, your initiative, and how you move through complexity. So titles like UX designer or UI designer or product designer, they can sometimes box people in and reduce your identity and your impact to a label. And too often these roles get pigeonholed into just wireframers or just visual polishers, when in reality, they're contributing deeply to product thinking, strategy, systems, and research. I've led teams of both UX and UI designers, and I can't tell you how many times I've had to draw on my Sega Mega Drive peacemaking experience to resolve the turf wars between them. So what could happen if we remove the specialties from the title? Well, the scope of designers may broaden. The how and the what of our contribution, it could expand. Without the rigidity of the title, we could feel freer to move across the spectrum of product development, shape strategy, inform decisions, and influence outcomes. You're not just designing screens, but you're designing systems, culture, and change. The second impact it could have is it could reduce those silos. We may be able to evolve our roles and become more fluid and deliver greater things, more impact, and faster. If we stop defining ourselves by narrow specializations, we could open up for deeper collab. Designers, researchers, engineers, all solving problems together. Wouldn't that be grand? And the third point, focus could then be shifted to your impact and not on your label. So instead of leading with what we're called, we lead with what we contribute. And I've referenced this meme because it's just so fitting. I know you're all thinking, oh my God, the death of the UX title. How can I possibly be everything? I can't be expected to do everything. I can't be a unicorn. And you are the dog in the room with the room on fire, staring at your cup, disassociating. You're right. No one should do it all. But maybe this isn't just a semantic shift. Maybe it's a cultural signal. Maybe it's time for us to zoom out and rethink the boxes that we put ourselves in. A reminder that although titles can clarify, they can also constrain us and hold us back. And that more often than not, roles evolve faster than org charts. And as designers, we're not just pixel pushers or process people. We're connectors, we're translators, we're sense makers. And often we're leading whether we're told to or not. So maybe the question that we really need to ask ourselves is, as designers, should we really let our impact be choked by our titles? And that brings me to this awesome book. I'm not usually into marketing shtick, but let's say Seth Godin's concept of the linchpin really stuck with me when I read this book. So if you haven't heard of Seth Godin, he's a famous American author who's written lots of best-selling books, many of which have shaped the way we think about work and brand and leadership. And this book is called Linchpin, Are You Indispensable? And it was written in 2010. And it really landed in my life at a pivotal moment for me. I was about to step into a leadership role that hadn't existed before, and it was created just for me. And there wasn't a clear map. I wasn't sure how my role would land or how the team would handle it or how it would be received. And then I read this line in the book. And the line is, the linchpin is the essential building block of great organizations. The one who makes a difference, creates order out of chaos, connects people and ideas, and gets things done. I can tell you I've never felt more seen. It just really resonated with me. And immediately I remembered I just needed to trust myself. I had to trust in the ability to be that kind of person. The person who breaks up a Sega Mega Drive fight, maybe while partaking in said fight, but to be indispensable, not because of a title, but because of how I choose to show up. So Seth Godin describes a linchpin as someone who takes responsibility before they are asked, builds trust by bringing people together, makes the whole system better just by being in it, and leads through initiative, emotional labor, and human connection. Does that sound familiar? That's us. That's so many of us. That's design at its best, the linchpins. We as designers are in the perfect position to lead change. We make the invisible visible, the complex usable, and we connect people to problems and we bring ideas to life. So I know you're saying, well, if leadership isn't about the title, Ash, what is it about? Well, I believe I've got 7 ways here today that I'm going to share with you, which is how I believe real leadership shows up, because leadership isn't a title, it's a presence, it's a way of being. So number 1, lead by listening. Leadership doesn't start with answers, it starts with attention. And I don't just mean hearing, I mean actively listening, listening to what is said, what is unsaid, and what is underneath what's unsaid. And when you listen well, you create psychological safety. And when people feel safe, they speak up with ideas, roadblocks, truths, and needs. And that is when the real stuff happens. So at Belong, I saw firsthand how listening could bridge divides. There was a tension brewing between the disciplines, design and engineering, a splinter between delivery and quality, and a growing fear around speaking up about what wasn't working in the build process. People were whispering in DMs, but staying silent in stand-ups. So I started something really simple, the design system jam sessions. Casual, opt-in catch-ups between designers and developers every Friday. No agenda, no pressure, just a space to talk, troubleshoot, and listen. And they grew organically. People kept coming back, and not because they had to, but because they felt heard. And with that trust came truth. And suddenly I started seeing and hearing things that weren't in Slack or stand-ups. Messy handoffs, the ambiguous specs, pressure from product to ship at the cost of quality. And I didn't just take those insights and sit on them. I took them straight to leadership. And I worked really closely with the exec team to reshape how we balanced delivery speed with design integrity and the quality of customer experience. So we shifted that narrative from just ship it out the door to let's get it right and scalable. So listening isn't passive, it's active, it's strategic, it's transformative. And when you lead by listening, it means tuning in deeply and then using what you hear to make change that matters. Number 2, lead by lifting others. So leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about how you help others rise. And to lead by lifting others means showing up with empathy, encouragement, and belief, even when others can't yet see their own potential. It's about focusing on other people and not just your own outcomes. It means creating space, sharing credit, and making sure no one gets left behind. And when you do that, it changes the energy of everything around you. So lifting others isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about offering space. It's about asking, how can I help you? And meaning it. It's helping people feel seen, helping them feel safe, and helping them feel like they can fail so that they can do their best work. So Therapy for Designers is a not-for-profit design community that I co-founded with Simone Atanasio, and we created it as an antidote to burnout and busyness, a gentle pause in the noise where you can come as a designer, reflect, reconnect, and reset, and of course, share a great meal. We don't talk job titles, LinkedIn, nothing like that. No strategic ROIs, performance metrics. It's just a quiet monthly invitation to be human together. And the impact of that is real. We've had people tell us they were about to leave the design industry until they found this space. And then we've had others walk away completely from design with confidence and without regret because this space helped them make peace with that decision. We've had folks cry, laugh, breathe, and remember what they love and don't love about the work. And we built it because we showed up and we care. And leadership at its core is an act of service. So to lead by lifting others is to hold space even when there's nothing in it for you. Number 3, lead by learning. So leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about having the appetite to grow, explore, and ask better questions. And when you lead by learning, you take initiative from a place of genuine curiosity, especially when it's outside of your job description. So about a decade ago, I rocked up to a Melbourne meetup just to make friends. And at the time I was working as a designer and I had zero idea what digital accessibility was. And then I saw someone demo a screen curtain and it blew my little mind. The next day I went back to the office and I asked, so do we do accessibility here? Nobody knew what I was talking about. And I couldn't let it go. So I made it my mission to change that. And Australia's largest utility company owed it to the people that it served, in my mind, I'm sure you figured out who that might be. And I just stepped up. I created a role. I had no idea what I was doing. I wrote my own job description and job title, but I cared and I wanted it to happen. So with the support of my boss and his boss's boss and however many bosses there was, we got it happening. And I became the first digital accessibility lead in the digital team. That team evolved to have 17 accessibility specialists at one point. So all because one question turned into a mission. Leading by learning doesn't mean you have to know all the answers. It just starts with curiosity. And sometimes that's enough to spark really big change. And I will point out the meme I've used here is Barbie. The tagline is accessibility, it opens up a whole new world. It really did for me. And it's been the last 10 years of my life have been woven around accessibility in different ways. It is spelt wrong intentionally. You can see accessibility. Apparently Barbie believes that accessibility should be spelt that way because it enables and empowers everyone's abilities, which I thought was quite cute. Number 4, lead with left turns. So not all paths are linear. No career is one straight line. So some of us take the scenic route, and that unexpected project or the sideways step, the weird job that no one knew they even wanted, but then it actually changed your life. In 2008, I had about 5 years of a design experience under my belt, and I moved from England to Canada. I knew 2 people in the city. I moved in with a rapper who was renting a room through Kijiji. Think, if you haven't heard of Kijiji, that's like Canada's version of Gumtree. And I started making jewellery on the floor of my basement apartment in Toronto's Queen West. Why? I just wanted to. 2 years later, I was selling custom jewellery backstage to a Nashville-based stylist who worked with Drake, Bon Jovi and Kiss. I partnered with the iconic Canadian heritage lifestyle brand Roots. If you haven't heard of Roots, think Country Road and a Kubra if they had a fashion love child of sorts. My jewellery was being worn in television and film by actors such as Heather Graham, Carrie-Anne Moss from The Matrix and Serena Ryder. Suddenly, I was running my own business by complete accident. I was writing contracts, negotiating with executive corporate merch buyers. At 23 years old, I had no idea what I was doing, and I had no title to hide behind. But that detour taught me how to back myself, how to lead without waiting to feel ready, how to embrace the weird, wild turns that shape who we become. Because leadership isn't about climbing, it's about carving your own path. Number 5, lead by leaning in. And that's the face I had most days in this anecdote that I'm about to tell you, the painful yes. So some leadership moments don't arrive with an instruction manual, they arrive with a calendar invite. Back when I was working for Australia's largest telco, I was asked to cover my manager's role temporarily, just for a few months, they said. And then that person resigned. Suddenly, I was left leading a team of 40 plus designers across 2 states of Australia with 0 formal leadership training, no prep, and a serious case of imposter syndrome. And I was still expected to do my original job, so I juggled really badly at times. I suddenly had to manage my peers, set direction, own decisions, hold space, and I made mistakes, plenty of them. But I learned boundaries the hard way, and I showed up and I leaned in. And in that chaos, I started shaping my version of leadership, which I rooted in presence over perfection, a really tough one, but I'm still working on it. I tried to listen more than I talk, which I'm still getting better at, and then compassion, even when under pressure, especially for myself. It was one of the hardest seasons of my career, but it grew me so much more than any title ever could. Because leaning in doesn't mean knowing everything, it means being brave enough to try anyway. Number 6, lead with lightness. You might have noticed by now that I've used alliteration here. I was very excited about that. There's a lot of L words here. So leading with lightness is about humor, humility, humanity, And sometimes that's what gets us through that heavy stuff. And in high pressure work environments, those qualities aren't soft, they're strategic. They help teams bond, they help them move forward when they feel stuck, because sometimes the most powerful thing a leader can do isn't solve the problem, it's bring a moment of lightness. So during Melbourne's epic lockdowns, I don't even want to talk about it, there's so much PTSD for us, but the Belong team was really flat. The Zoom fatigue was real. Morale was super low. And we were stuck in a groundhog day of endless video calls, delivery deadlines, isolation. And we had this silly ongoing joke of sticky buttons, which was constantly misheard as sticky buns. It was classic design dev chaos, and it became a running gag. So one week during our regular design system jam, I secretly organized sticky bun Uber deliveries to land on everyone's doorstep mid-Zoom call, which was totally ridiculous, but really joyful. And everyone was having such a beautiful time or receiving these sticky buns at the same time. And for just that moment, it was just like we cracked open and remembered we're still connected. We're still a team. So when I say lead with lightness, I don't just mean fluffy words to stay positive or be upbeat. I mean, be fun, be silly, be human, find moments to surprise and delight and bring your full self, because connection isn't a distraction from the work, it is the work. And sometimes it's exactly what people need most. And the last one, lead with legacy. So real leadership isn't just about what you ship, it's about what you leave behind. It isn't measured by your name on the slide deck or the number of Jira tickets you closed. It's measured in what lasts after you are moved on. The systems, the stories, the scaffolding that help other people succeed. And when you lead with legacy, you zoom out beyond the sprint, the deadline, the current team, and you start asking questions like, how does this work shape what comes next? Who does it empower? What does it make easier for the next person who picks this up after me? At Belong, my team helped build the company's very first design system. Yeah, sure, there were components, documentation, eventually tokens once the team finally believed in me. This was in 2019. But it was never just about UI kits or consistency checklists. For me, we were building a shared language for the future. We invested in principles that aligned design and engineering together. We wrote clear, accessible documentation that anybody could pick up. And we created an open culture of knowledge sharing across siloed delivery teams. Because we knew we weren't just designing for now, we were designing for those designers that came after us. And that's what legacy leadership looks like. It's not about just leaving your mark. It's about clearing the path so that others can go further and faster with less friction. That's leadership with real impact, the kind that sticks even after you're gone. So yeah, Ash, that all sounds really great, but like these things get in the way and they're annoying. So like what do we do? Well, the things that get in the way, we'll go through them. We've got the first one, doubting yourself, that classic imposter syndrome. Who am I to tell people what to do? Who am I? I'm not truly qualified. I just got lucky. There's the feeling not senior enough, waiting for someone to tell you that you can execute, holding back, waiting for the nod, you know. Then there's the bad boss. Everyone's probably been through a period of having someone that doesn't support you or is threatened by you or doesn't see your potential. Without that support or trust, it's really hard to stretch into your potential. There's also perfectionism. And I think a lot of designers suffer from this. You tell yourself, oh, I'll step up. I just need one more course. I just need to master one more tool. After that, I'll feel 100% confident. You're never quite there. It's never enough. You always need to know more or feel more, or it's not good enough or ready enough. Then there's the fear of stepping on toes. Maybe you don't want to upset the team dynamics or seem like you're overstepping. And then there's the last one there, which is overload or burnout. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. You've got the skills, you've got the mindset, but you're cooked, you're overworked, and you can't lead when you're on empty. So, what are some ways to help with this? What are some coping mechanisms for these that get in the way? Well, the first thing I would say is measure your leadership by your outcome, not your title. So, focus on the impact that you're having and not what you're called while you're doing it. Titles can be political, but if you look at the value that you're adding, the problems that you're solving, and the people that you lift up, that's how you measure your impact. Also, look at notice the influence that you already have. So you probably already have really great relationships in the workplace. Start there and nurture those relationships and build on it. It often starts in those quiet everyday moments. Listen to your colleagues, help things move on and move forward without having to clutch for the credit. Number 3, make sure you surround yourself with people who reflect your strengths. You have to work for someone you believe in and who believes in you. Someone who's going to let you feel like you can fail. And if you aren't, move on. You choose your boss as much as they choose you. And if you're constantly second guessing yourself or shrinking yourself to feel safe, it's probably time to reconsider where you're working. I'd say also ask for feedback, but also ask for feedback and act on that feedback. So try not to take the feedback personally and use it to self-reflect. A lot of the best growth comes from honest self-reflection. Even when it stings, it's often a great shortcut to self-awareness. And then the last one, say yes before you feel ready. Fuck it. Just say yes, shut the door and scream and figure it out later. Most people who've done big things felt unprepared when they started, but courage isn't about being ready, it's about being willing. And that brings me to the illusion of permission, I call it. So a lot of people are just waiting to be told what to do. And as Seth Godin wrote in The Linchpin, the book that I referenced earlier, there's 2 kinds of people in most organizations, those who wait to be picked and those who pick themselves. And I would say that my leadership journey has been a messy mix of stepping up, stumbling in, seizing unexpected chances alongside some hard-earned accidents. Some of those roles were assigned to me temporarily where I made an impact and they kept me around. Others I created from scratch, spotted the gaps, built some trust, shaped it into something real. But I'll tell you one thing, none of them came from waiting. All of them were earned by showing up before I was asked. And spoiler alert, no one actually really knows what they're doing. So even though you feel the fear, I just say do it anyway, have a go. You might fuck it up, but I can almost guarantee you'll never look back and wish, oh, I didn't try that. So don't chase titles. Just make yourself so goddamn useful that they have to invent one for you. Don't wait for permission. You don't need the formal title. Just create value by being human, generous, and bold. And yeah, sure, titles matter, but don't obsess after them. Don't run after them. Stay true to your values and just do stuff that you love. Let your work lead and the title will follow. And if you're carving out meaningful change, the chances are you're probably already pioneering your own title anyway. But I would say maybe most importantly, above all of this, please remember, you are not your job title. Your work does not define your value or who you are. And that's it. That's it. That's it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. An honor to have you all listening to me talk for so long this evening. I had such a great time. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Preet, for having me. Got a couple of links there to resources if you need to reference some of those books and posts.
It was really insightful, Ash. and it's really good to learn a lot of from different aspects to know your journey from where, like, those scribbles that you put it between the two pictures, it justify that what you've been through, and yeah, like there is this quote that I personally believe in, that which I'm going to read. So that it says that it the book that I read recently, so it says that stop telling yourself you are not qualified, good, or good enough, or worthy. Growth happens when you start doing the things you are not qualified to do.
It's true. It's
So
true.
yeah, this is like, it's really, thank you so much for sharing all this. You yeah, you it was like a bunch of box, and you literally put it each card that makes us feel like, we are literally not our job titles. It
Mhm,
is everything which comes from within in that sense.
mhm.
So that is
Yeah,
something really good.
amazing.
Okay, yeah. So okay, so what's next? So let's do a bit of Q&A. I think we do have a couple of questions here. Uh,
I'm actually
so
I'm seeing names. I'm actually seeing names from the teams that I've been in over the years that I reference, and there's a few people
that's
in
nice.
there.
Okay, so your teammates are also tuned in, is
Um, oh my gosh, how am I going to find a question in here?
it? Okay, fine. So we have four questions so far. So I'll go through them one by one, okay? So
Okay,
first, the first most voted question that we have here is from Isabella. So she's asking that, how do you avoid being exploited when you show so much initiative?
that's a great question. Do I get to choose? Is this the one that I'm answering?
Yeah, this is one you are answering right now, but there are a few more questions we'll go through. We have good enough time to go through. Yeah.
Love it. That is such a good question, Isabel. How to avoid being exploited when you show so much initiative? I kind of learned the hard way. I mean, there was a story in there where I referenced taking on a management role when I already had a role and I was expected to do both. And it was meant to be temporary. And I really had to learn the hard way about putting a boundary down. So um, that was very early in my management career. And I just wanted to do the right thing, and I wanted to jump as soon as they asked me to. So I did, but I also learned that I needed to fight for my own value and yeah, go in and bat for myself and ask for more money, ask for the right titles. I think you learn it the hard way. I did burn out, but I would say just don't forget that as much as you want to give, you have to be rewarded for that. You know, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the next question we have, most voted question that we have is, could you share some tips on how to handle resistance or pushback when you are not in charge? That's from Rebia.
Rabia, Rabia. Could you share some tips on how to handle resistance or pushback when you're not in charge? Oh, that is a really good question. How have I handled that? I think when you start to collect experiences with personalities over the years, you start to realize that people work in different ways. So I would say it depends on the personality. So, you know, certain people are quite assertive and aggressive with their opinions, and I find other ways to make change, either getting them on side with what I'm trying to pitch, or I tend to go around and try to find other people who they are connected to and they trust. If there's resistance to what I'm trying to push or to pitch, I've definitely experienced that, lots of resistance to things over the years, design system being one of them. But yeah, I think it's really about understanding people and behavior and knowing how to manage that behavior from getting to know people, because not everyone works the same. Thanks, Rabia.
Yeah. There was one last question. We have is, as a designer, how can we build influence with other teams like developers, product managers, etc.? That's from Deb.
From Deb, how, as a designer, how can we build influence with other teams like developers and product managers? Be friends with them. Be friends with them. Be kind to the people you work with and build relationships. And when you build those relationships, they trust you, they like you. You have you both have a goal that you're working towards, which is essentially the same thing. So try to build those relationships first, and the influence will come really, really easily, I think.
Okay. Can we squeeze one more question?
Yeah,
Yes.
why not?
Okay. So one more question. Uh, so I'm a mid-level designer myself. How can you show up as an effective leader after making a mistake, the trust and faith of your team? So that is by Lauren.
Lauren, how can you show up as an effective leader after making a mistake and then regain the trust and faith of your team? Own it. Own the mistake. That's how you gain the trust and faith of your team again. There's only one way you can make a mistake, and that's just to own it, because it's really normal. And usually the best leaders are making mistakes all the time because they're just giving it a go, and just trying. So I would say, yeah, that's what you need to do. If you make a mistake, you own it and you say, we try again. And actually, in my experience, doing that builds an amazing vulnerability shared with the team, and then they feel empowered to make mistakes. And that's how you make progress faster. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Okay, so this is the funny question. Like, I just wanted to go, like, that was the last one. So Anna is asking as a local Melbournian that where is your favorite croissant at?
Oh, that's really easy. There's a place called Sourdough Bakery. I live on the west side, so sourdough is in Seddon, and they make croissants from sourdough. They're so delicious and buttery and dense. There's also one other place. I mean, I can talk about croissants longer than I can talk about anything. But yeah, Baker Mono. Baker Mono is another bakery in the city that also makes absolutely divine croissants. Look, Luna, is it Luna? Luna?
Loon.
Loon. Everyone talks about Loon. I think it's
Hype,
overrated, to be honest. I think it's hyped. Yeah.
right?
Controversial. I know everyone loves Loon, but
Right.
yeah. Also, I can see someone else. Just one more question. Have you experienced burnout or overload? Which of the strategies could support your recovery or prevention? I just want to give another shout out to Therapy for Designers, because even though I lead and facilitate, it is actually it helps me with my burnout. Going to those sessions and sharing just what's going on and being heard, it's like one of the best things I wish I had it when I was a junior. And that's something Simone and I often say to each other. We do this because we wished it was there for us when we were younger. So shout out to Therapy for Designers, come along.
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Preet.
So yeah, no, definitely. So now it's your turn, Ash. You have to pick your favorite question. So that person like will receive something special from this talk.
Ooh, the pressure. I actually really enjoyed that Lauren's question about how to show up after you make a mistake. I think that was a really insightful question. So I think that might be my favorite.
Okay. So so congratulations, Lauren. So you have received the $50 Sigma Store voucher, which includes the free shipping as well. So please DM me your email address and I'll send the instruction, everything, how to redeem the price and stuff later on. So thank you so much for asking everyone, whoever asked the questions. And that was really good talk and really insightful. But before we leave, like we would like to share a couple of more things. So we have upcoming next. So before we wrap up, a quick heads up that there is a session we have which is designing for action, UX lessons from video. So that has been hosted by friends of Figma Perth. And if you are interested, just scan this QR code and it will take you to the agenda where you can see all the upcoming session for this world tour, and you can just register individually based on whichever the session that you would like to attend to. And we have many other sessions lined up as it is 24-hour world tour. So make sure you attend them. And we're going also recording these sessions as well. So that will be available on our official YouTube channel in the upcoming days. And we will also share the links to our websites and socials so you can rewatch your favorite one and catch up on anything that you have missed today. And before you go, we would like to know your feedback as well. So this event is made by the community for the community, and your voice will help us to reshape and shape it even better for your experience, and also like hopefully we can bring it to the next year as well. So just scan this QR code and share your thoughts and how effectively we can help like Friends of Figma World Tour even more amazing next year in 2026. I'll keep this screen for a few minutes, like few seconds more.
I just want to say fantastic initiative, Preet and Kialuji. This is a fantastic initiative that you've set up. I know just at the beginning we heard from 5 different countries alone. So the fact that we're reaching so many corners of the globe is fantastic. Well done.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Ash. And then before like we wrap up, like this slide is one of my favorite. So it shows the incredible lineup of the chapters that like who have came together to make this event possible. And it's a powerful reminder, as I said before, that best thing don't happen in the isolation. And real impact is that comes from people showing up, sharing, and build together. And yeah, stay curious and enjoy the tour. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.